Greetings everybody and welcome to this recording of the Neo Tokyo News Twitter Spaces. The topic for this Spaces is the future of NFT marketplaces and is hosted by our very own ZeHI. In this recording you can expect lengthy discussions about OpenSea, how the NFT marketplaces are shifting and how Neo Tokyo citizens are shaping the future of the industry one project at a time. If you enjoy this type of content, please follow us on Twitter at Neo Tokyo News and we hope you enjoy this recording. Without further ado, I'm going to let ZeHI take the lead.
For today, our featured guests are all citizens of Neo Tokyo who have projects that are NFT marketplaces, either currently functioning or in development. First off, we have Ben Humbert, who is the product manager and founder of basicneeds.help and SwapStreet.io. He's also co-founder of Green Candle Consulting. SwapStreet.io is the main project he'd be discussing today in terms of this theme we're looking at. So we look forward to hearing more about that. Ben is a OG citizen and is one of the most active citizens I can attest to. He's always there at Purgatory Club, keeping the good vibes, welcoming new members, and is a general pleasure to hang out with. So great to have Ben with us. Our next guest here, we also have Naffler. I don't know how to say your last name, so Nguyen. How do you pronounce that?
Yeah, man. Nguyen, Nugent, Nuit, whatever works. Whatever's easy for people to pronounce.
Sounds good. We're calling you Naffler today because you are the founder of Naffles, which is a very interesting NFT platform which is in development. It's going to be on ZK Sync, and it's going to have an innovative way of distributing NFTs, allowing people to sell their NFTs through a raffle system, which we're looking forward to hearing more about today. As was already said, I'm friends with Ben over there, see him all the time in Neo Tokyo. I've been helping out Naffler a bit with some operations and marketing as well at the Naffles. It truly looks like has tremendous potential, so definitely looking forward to this getting rolled out more. And our third special guest today is the famous legendary Thrasher. Anybody who's an OG citizen, is around for the early days and for the riddles and the mint and everything will definitely know who Thrasher is. He is the architect of Neo Tokyo, the main dev who did all the magic to make all of the codes come together and become what it is today. And he is also the co-founder of Bit. You say Bit or do you say Byte? I would say Bit, right?
It is Byte.
It is Byte?
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you for the intro and the very, very kind words.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us. It's been a little while. We haven't seen you so present in the Citadel. I assume you've been quite busy. Is that true? You've been working on Byte and other projects, or what you've been up to?
Yeah, lots of things under the scene, which I'm hoping we can talk about a fair amount on the Byte side. But even within Neo Tokyo, I haven't been as visible, but I've been doing quite a bit under the hood on the tokenomics side, and it's been quite the undertaking moving to version 2.0.
Yeah, I believe you've been working with the Super Farm devs on that. They've been helping out with that quite a bit too, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Well, we're going to just jump right into this. And I definitely, because all three of you have been developing these projects which are aimed at really advancing the whole NFT market. So I would assume that you're all very aware of what are the challenges, issues, and difficulties within the NFT market. I mean, I can just throw out some right off the bat that I can think of just, OpenSea being such a dominant force, sometimes having some high fees, and the NFT market often having low liquidity, difficulties dealing with stolen NFTs and royalties and other things of that nature. I want to start with you though, Thrasher. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges for the NFT market currently?
I think one of the biggest challenges that I've seen, and the main thing that we're trying to tackle at Byte, is that all of the chains and your identity across them is very fractured. Whether it's having Solana NFTs, having Ethereum NFTs, having to interact with those communities, having to interact across the discords where all of these interactions are happening, everything is exceptionally fragmented. And what we're trying to do is build a robust, inclusive experience beyond just the marketplace itself, but the ability when you own these NFTs and you're trading them, that you can actually interact with any other entity regardless of what chain and what NFTs they hold, and hopefully bring communities together.
Now, a quick follow-up on that. When you say interacting with other entities, which ones are you thinking of specifically, and in what ways, like what interactions do you want to create?
Sure. So first and foremost, there's the collection owner, and then there's the people that are collecting NFTs. Now, when you're collecting NFTs, currently you're viewed as a wallet address. Now, in some communities, maybe you have a couple wallets and you're viewed as that entity within the community where you have NFTs held in a few spots. But when you go to a different community, you are either one wallet address or a set of wallet addresses there. What we're trying to do, and we already have the social profile live, what we're trying to do is allow you to attach as many wallets from as many different chains as possible to a single entity that exists across all chains, exists across all NFT collections. And we have another piece of that coming out, which will not be directly part of the marketplace itself, but will be integrated with it, which is a social messaging and feed system, which you can think of fairly similar to a Twitter feed. But the difference is that you are going to have all of your NFTs related to your profile. So as you're creating posts, sending messages, interacting with people, you can actually target specific groups. So say you own a Neo Tokyo citizen, you can send messages that only Neo Tokyo citizens can see. You can send messages that are tagged with Neo Tokyo citizens, so people who are looking for messages from Neo Tokyo citizens publicly can see. So the idea on our side is to try to build an ecosystem and an experience where no one is siloed anymore, and to truly try to bring the community together beyond just the trading on a single chain, but trading across everything and interacting across all chains.
So like an identity-wide understanding of who this individual or this thing or entity is. Very cool.
How far along is that integration currently?
Yeah, so the social profiles across multiple chains are live right now, and we have, I think, 6 or 7 chains live. We have built a templatized system so that we continue to inject chains very quickly. For example, people were talking about Doge Chain the other day. We discussed internally whether or not we were going to push that out. It would take us a matter of days to push that live if we want to. And then on the social interaction side, the core technology that allows people to interact with each other and the tagging system that is on-chain validated through our validation system, all of that is internally ready to go. We just need to do some polishing on the algorithm as far as who sees what when you post and things. So it's getting very close.
Sweet. And so there's like a social element to it, right? I mean, you're kind of almost bringing in, like, combining the Discord and all the different marketplaces into one element.
Exactly, and there's 2 sides to it. One is that you, from a collector's perspective, you can interact with the other collectors, and if you want to, you can interact with the collection owner, assuming the collection owner holds one of the NFTs. And then from a collection owner side, it allows you the ability to interact with people within your collection, as well as have people who are not within your collection be aware of the collection and create rich content, which if you feel the need to, you can gate it specifically for your community. So you can create rich content, post it. Only people with your specific NFT will be able to see it if that's something you're trying to do. So we want to make sure that you can interact with people outside of your community, interact with people within your community with specific parameters if that's what you're looking to do, as well as create rich content for users as a collection owner, and create as many tools around that as we possibly can.
That's pretty awesome.
That's an incredible feature. I have to say, from a social implementation standpoint and marketing for that specific collection to others that are interested, like other interested parties, that's pretty slick.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to release this feature yet or talk about it, but I'm going to anyway. So Will, if you're listening right now, sorry. One of the other great things that we're implementing that should be live very soon is, as a collection owner, we also know the specific traits of any NFTs that a user or an identity has. So not only can you send messages out to your community, but say you have a generative NFT of some kind, you can actually tag people with specific roles, and you can send specific content to people with specific roles. So it does allow quite a level of stratification if that's what you want to do within your community.
So I got a follow-up question to that, and that's also awesome because I was thinking from the standpoint of an NFT floor, the ability to easily search like the floor of a specific trait, you know, the ability to talk to those, like, say I just want to talk to trash helms, right? You know, within the NFT, within Neo Tokyo.
Yep.
With your feature, I could totally do that, and I could also, you know, one thing that we're trying to figure out on SwapStreet is the ability to set collection offers for specific traits. So going from the base level up to specific layers of traits and what the exact floor is based on that NFT.
Yeah. So the first one will be possible with the tech we have right now. The second is possible with the tech stack that we already have built, but we'd have to do a little bit of retooling. But the second is absolutely possible with our system as well.
Nice job.
All right, let's take it over to Naffler. Let's talk about and focus in on what's the biggest problem that you guys are trying to solve over there.
Hey everybody. So I guess from our side, you know, I got into NFTs in the middle of last year and kind of rode up that tsunami of NFT hype and whitelists, and you know, just got into dozens and dozens of projects. And you know, like many of you, you'd get caught up in that FOMO of a project, and you degen into it, end up with 3 or 4 NFTs on the same collection, and you know, you'd watch that floor price rocket right up, and maybe, you know, often you get a bit greedy. You set your sell price, and of course, you know, you'd probably miss the top, which most of the time I did. So then I'd end up watching that floor price, just kind of follow that floor down as kind of, you know, undercutters started panicking, and you know, either I'd just hold it and I'd end up just having you know, basically dead weight NFTs, or I'd make a loss or very, very little profits, right? And that lack of liquidity is the problem that was really, really frustrating for me. Was just, there's just got to be, you know, a better way for people with particularly valuable NFTs, the ones where there's value in the communities, or, you know, value in the art, and it's not just down to, you know, flippers and people trying to, you know, make a quick buck on it. And I guess that liquidity issue is where we kind of step in, and you know, I wanted to look at a way that would allow people to, you know, the holders of those higher value NFTs, even though it may not be reflected in the floor price, to be able to disconnect the value from the floor price in terms of a sale. But then at the same time, you know, we needed to find a way that allowed people who, you know, who could have the chance of winning or buying that NFT without paying, you know, a ridiculous price for it, you know, particularly with like the Bored Apes and CryptoPunks and, you know, all the other top tier ones. or the blue chip NFTs. So that's kind of where the model for, you know, the raffles came in. Yeah, because you see all these raffles that are run, and also particularly like with the like the supercar raffles that maybe you see around airports and shopping centers and things like that. So that's kind of where the model came from. But what we wanted to do was allow anyone to be able to create the raffles, not just companies with you know, the licenses and things like that, but allow anyone holding an NFT to run their own raffles and be able to either offer their NFT up for someone to win, or for anyone else to kind of win that NFT. And we wanted to do it in a transparent way. And I think that's also, you know, the major thing that you don't see with raffles and giveaways and things like that is just how the winner is selected. So, you know, that was one of the other angles that we wanted to come in from, was the transparency of giveaways and raffles and how they run on the blockchain.
Right on. So that's basically, it works where people can set their amount of raffle tickets they want to sell and the price of each raffle ticket, and then that will determine the ultimate price that they're going to get if they sell out the raffles.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, you know, we wanted to come in with a method where the owner could determine the price that they wanted to accept, as opposed to just kind of putting it out there and, you know, having it as a free-for-all, because it kind of makes it a little bit imbalance for the buyers. You know, if all they're doing is just buying tickets and they don't know when the raffle is going to finish. This way, it allows that transparency where, you know, you can set your NFT, you can set like 100 tickets or 1,000 tickets, and you can set the price per ticket, where it could be, you know, $5 or $10 or whatever, and then everyone knows what they're getting into.
Now, is there, and please correct me if I just didn't understand this, but I just want to clarify, is there like a fail-safe in case, let's say, you know, there's not enough raffles sold or tickets sold to justify even having put it up for sale in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a couple of ways to protect both buyer and seller on that. So it's non-custodial. So basically, if the tickets don't sell out, the owner of the NFT or the seller, they have the option to either extend the raffle until, you know, they achieve enough sales, or they can accept the level of sales if they're happy with it already, and that just gets executed on a blockchain. And then the alternative is, if they're not happy after a while, then they can just cancel the NFT option, and at that point everyone gets refunded their ticket price, their ticket sales basically. And because we're doing it on ZK Sync, the fees are minimal.
Nice. I like that approach a lot. So I actually want to see if there are any folks, and maybe put this out there so y'all can start thinking about it. If anybody in the audience has any particular questions, be thinking about it. I want to make sure to get everybody's questions answered here, if y'all do. So just be thinking about that. Maybe we can move on over to Ben, talk a little bit about some of the biggest problems that you're really focused on.
Oh, for me?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. So one of the problems that we focused on with SwapStreet was the ability to not have to explain the user interface and to allow the least amount of clicks to do a peer-to-peer swap. So for those of you just joining, SwapStreet.io is a multi-asset swap site that allows for peer-to-peer swaps of NFTs and tokens, or, you know, whatever combination you want to have. Also, we're able to utilize a mass transfer option, where essentially we are powered by OX protocol, and multiple times we've seen cases where people transfer 50 plus NFTs in a single transaction, where the gas is about $1.20 per transfer. So everybody's able to save money. Thankfully, OX is pretty optimized, and one of the key features of SwapStreet is the ability to see the global order book. NFT Trader kind of just introduced this feature where you're able to go to the quote-unquote trading center and then be able to search through different NFT collections and then find ones that you might want to do a direct deal for. Thankfully, with ours, as soon as you go into the app, you're able to see the total global order book. We have a lot more features coming within the next week to be able to allow people and users to select their specific collections that they want instead of scrolling forever. But you can sort by right now like open orders, canceled orders, and filled orders. But yeah, we got a lot more features coming which are driven by voice of customer. And yeah, we're always driven to break down everything into the simplest form possible because when my dev and I, now we're a two-person team, we kind of started looking at all of these gaps in the market of people just wanting to trade, not wanting to go to a sketchy site. I'll admit, like, SudoSwap was a little scary when I first got introduced to it, like, way back when, and I'm like, this, like, it was very confusing with, how busy the site was. And so we decided to create something very simplified, very organized, and because if you have to explain the user interface, it's a bad user interface, and that's what we kind of attacked with that problem.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So when you're looking at another platform that is, I don't know if I'd say a competitor, but is plowing similar ground, how are you thinking about ways to make that better? Like, are you looking at them and just kind of trying to go and look where they're a 3 out of 10 and bump that up to a 7 out of 10 and just put together a better product like that? Or are you looking to just completely approach it differently?
My best friend and best man, we were each other's best men at each other's weddings, but I was showing him these different swap sites, and I'm like, and I'm like trying to find a way to make it better. And he literally looks at me and goes, dude, there's no way to, and he's a software engineer, and he's like, listen, if that is the simplest form that you can break it down to, don't try to make it better, just use it. And so we got a lot of our design influence from Trader.xyz. They broke it down to the smallest level possible. When we're actually looking at different sites and, looking at competitors, we can kind of break it down into different factions per se. So like OpenSea and Byte, for example, those are your major marketplaces. They are, the AAA of gaming for NFT trades or marketplaces. They have multiple chains. They have multiple different asset sets. They have, from what I just heard today, killer features coming out, which will, hopefully be trendsetters. Because I'm definitely going to talk to my dev about a couple things, that's coming out of this very fruitful, very rich discussion. But when I look at other sites, there are definitely things that can be done better. And going from OpenSea and Byte.io down a level to something that's kind of like a hybrid, moving from pseudo swaps. Now, everybody's trying to focus on, okay, we need everybody to be able to see their wallet right up front, right? We need them to be able to see their NFTs and then make deals with those NFTs right on there. So SudoSwap's trying to become an OTC AAA marketplace hybrid. And then you have your other grade of just straight peer-to-peers, which would be your NFT Trader, which would be your Swap.Kiwi, basically just geared towards trusted community members that kind of follow each other and are, hey, I have an asset, would you like it? Would you like to upgrade? Would you like to downgrade? And utilizing their community's tokens to further facilitate an enhanced environment where you can utilize the assets that you have, that you've been building, that you've been spending money on, and be able to trade that way. The one I do kind of want to talk and discuss about SudoSwap's new feature about creating NFT pools. I'd like to know Naffler and Thrasher's thoughts on that, and if they've used it and what their experience has been.
That's definitely been big news this week. I've been seeing reviews all over that. We've covered it in the news as well. So, yeah, Thrasher, you have any thoughts on that?
I have heard a fair amount about it, but I have not used it at all. I've been very heads down these last 3-4 weeks, so I haven't really had the luxury of being able to use any of the other new tools that have come out over the last month, and there have been quite a few. So I'd be happy to hear from anyone else what they have seen from it so far.
I have tried it, but I'm going to wait for Naffler.
Yeah, unfortunately, likewise with Thrasher, I just haven't had the time to sort of delve into NFT pools at all. But by the way, Ben, love all the work that you're doing there, and the fact that you've gone through and you've researched all of the the other similar sites that have the functionality that you're looking to improve on. And I guess one of the questions I was wondering was, have you met any challenges where you know how you want to do something, and you're trying to find similar features on other websites, but they haven't implemented it quite right, or they just don't have that feature, and have you had a situation where you just kind of had to build it from scratch and kind of hope that it works, or have you done a lot of user testing to try to improve that UI or that UX?
Yes, so originally we had planned to charge a fee, and I initially released NFT beta tester or a SwapStreet beta tester NFT with like a really cool pair of 80 shades, because at that time I was like obsessed with the 80s. I'm like, these are cool. And so Joe Photoshopped, who's a great citizen who does great work for images and loves sharing AI images with us. Just a quick shout out to him. He helped me create that, and then I gave it 2 beta testers so that they would be fee-free forever, because I would never want them to be paying to test. One of the actual, it was the weirdest thing that when you're in the test UI, right, and you're on Gorley or Ropsten or, on these test networks, APIs to pull in data don't work. So it kind of forced us to have to do testing in production to be able to get where we are today. And thankfully, we're at a really nice beta stage. Everything works. We've transferred like over $200,000 to $300,000 worth of swaps. I'd have to check again, maybe even more. But when building something from scratch, I'm extremely thankful that I have, a very talented dev. Hopefully you're listening. If you are, you're amazing. But building something from scratch that hasn't been done before, obviously reverse engineering requires just the knowledge to be able to redo something, right? And for us, creating those new features, some of it is kind of just altering exactly what's already on the market. It's just tweaking it a bit. Thankfully, with code and how modular it is today, if it's not related to a smart contract and it's just related to specific views, like for example, for our site, viewing your swaps, viewing that, viewing this, most of it is literally just complex filters for you to see data. That is essentially what most UI features are. And the ability to ease that stress from the user, I think is one of the features that should be focused on. And there are so many companies or Web3 developers that are trying to create these views that haven't been done before. Button placements. Obviously, with things that are modular, it's really easy to get out, but I guess from a feature perspective, we do have a couple things in the pipeline. I guess one of them I could talk about since it's kind of in the ideation phase. We want to be able to simulate flash loans with a global order book of swaps. So essentially the ability for a user to make multiple swaps that are matched in the global order book to make them a profit. So based on the changing floor values, you'd actually be able to make a profit on the amount of ETH a specific trait or, collection floor has. That's something, or a feature that I know isn't really around today. It's something that we definitely want to implement. And, when going through that mindset, it's like, okay, well, do we need a contract? But then everybody would have to stake on that contract, and nobody wants to stake their assets just to be able to make a trade. So it would have to be UI based, and kind of goes down a rabbit hole from there. Thankfully, my dev can deal with my madness, so kudos to him. But yeah, it's a very complex process of ideation, testing, failing, doing it all locally. But from a reverse engineering perspective, I mean, look at Toyota. Like, Toyota is a automotive company that took global manufacturing processes and improved them to be one of the best companies today. I can definitely see that happening, within the space of Web3 because of how modular it is, and I wouldn't be surprised if, features that we see as cutting edge continue to become more enhanced, more easy to use, and abstracted away from, most of what we know today.
That's good stuff. I was wondering, like, in terms of like user adoption, because we got two of these projects so far that we're discussing are fully out there and have plenty of users that are on those sites already. What's it been like for Byte Thrasher? Have you seen like the data of like the amount of people that are using the platform, and
Sure.
What have you seen as any challenges for getting people over there?
Yeah, so one of the major things that we were running into is we kind of foresaw the reduction in volume, the reduction in liquidity that was going to happen in the market. We went live after the top as things were dropping, and I don't know, we did a few 100,000 in volume in the first couple weeks there, and we realized, well, we can push this fairly hard on just the marketplace side. We can get some user adoption, but if we don't time this wave correctly, which we probably haven't, what will happen is all of those people will burn out. They'll stop heavily trading, and they'll kind of forget about the platform over the next year, because I think we're probably at least a year, if not a year and a half, away from the next kind of wave upwards. So what we did was, rather than try to spend all of our marketing efforts getting mass user adoption on the marketplace side, is we pivoted directly into the other piece that we thought we were going to work on a little bit later, which is the social side, which is the profiles, which are live now, and then the actual social interaction platform, which, like I said, should be going live in the next few days here, maybe a couple weeks, but is very close. So we actually have pulled back on usership, and that's not by design. We don't hope that people will fall off, but that was kind of what we expected. And we thought, you know what, let's directly push on the social side of this, and that will lead back into the marketplace side.
I love the surfing references almost there. Don't want to get caught on the inside and just get crumbled when the waves crash in here for this bull market coming to a close here. But it sounds like you're getting yourself very well positioned for the next set that's coming in.
For sure, and we've been very fortunate because we have another side of the company, which is our Launchpad, which builds NFT collections as well as other tools, which the tools are great because we can build them directly into this entire robust experience, but they're also revenue generating. So we don't need to push as hard on the marketplace side itself. We want to make sure that it's set up properly and we're not swimming upstream, so to speak.
Gotcha. What about you guys over there, Ben, on SwapStreet?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Just in terms of users, like how much action are you seeing these days? You guys have a decent user base thus far, or you got plans to try and build that out more?
Yeah, so when we decide to go free, we're trying to push the thankfully, the communities of Neo Tokyo, Imposters, and SitCap, as well as VVV, mostly citizen projects, have been utilizing SwapStreet a lot. We are starting to see, based on our analytics, organic growth. Once we actually have more of our features, that'll be homestay features out and improving the UI even more with our Elasticsearch feature, will most and the ability to view trades without having to sign in, because that's kind of the biggest problems. We want to be able to establish trust with our users, and so we originally designed it to sign in, then see the trades, but we've been seeing about maybe 50 to 100 visits a day, but we're hoping to expand that by quite a bit after our next enhancements.
Yeah, it's pretty good, especially for such bearish times, I would say, and minimal marketing. What about Naffles? I know Naffles is not launched yet. What are the plans to roll this out and build up a user base? How's that going to get rolled out?
Sure. Well, I guess a little bit different from Byte and SwapStreet is the Naffles platform relies on more of a one-to-many relationship between buyers and sellers, whereas with the marketplaces you have one NFT or one NFT collection that you want to swap with another person who wants to swap with you, right? So it's more of a one-to-one relationship, whereas for us, it's one seller needs hundreds, if not thousands, of buyers to buy tickets. So our focus is a little bit different. It is a bit of a chicken and egg scenario where we do need the buyers, and in the initial instance we'll need buyers as we onboard users through our NFTs, because access to the platform is going to be limited to people with our founders keys. So and that's just a way to control the quality of the NFTs that are going to get listed, because when we launch, we don't just want sort of any sort of crap on there. And then once we've initiated that, once we've established that foundation of buyers, then sellers, then we'll turn our focus onto onboarding buyers en masse. So, we've got a staged process. We'll be bringing on sellers through the NFT pre-sale, and then we'll be focusing on a wider sort of player or buyer community where I guess the intent there is we can leverage communities that we're connected to. We've got Chronicles on the team from NT for those who know him, and he's the outreach head. So he's going to be helping us with reaching out to all the communities that would be interested in a platform like Naffles, and what we'd want to do is engage their communities to be able to win their, if not just their own NFTs, but NFTs from other communities as well, for a fraction of the price. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've understood about it, it's a scaled kind of rollout, right? Where it's because you need all these buyers and you need to get people aware of the whole platform. It's starting out with like a pretty limited group, right? I believe there's a pre-sale that's going to be rolled out, and just probably only about 300. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, but we want that 300 to be people who see the value in the platform, and also who have engaged communities where they can help promote the Naffles platform and bring on those buyers in the initial instances to to help us test and build out that platform.
Right, and as that's successful, then start looking at the next level of sellers.
Of scaling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So I want to hop in for a second and ask our three guests here, how important is it to you guys to be building with other Neo Tokyo projects or like building within the community? Is that even on your radar as like a priority, or is it more of, hey, if it happens to provide value to the people in Neo Tokyo, fantastic. I know it's a little bit off the main topic of the future of NFT marketplaces, but I'm just kind of curious. We have a lot of citizens here.
Sure. Sorry guys, I'll hop in first. When I started building Naffles, I think Neo Tokyo was front and center in my vision. If you look at our team sheet, 90% of the core team are S1s or S2 citizens, people working on the project. I've got the NT News team pretty much are working with us to do the marketing. We've got Doc Yeti. I've had advisors like Thayer and Zenny, Annie. There's a whole bunch of people kind of working behind the scenes to help us build the product. I've got developers from S1. And that's pretty much, it stemmed from the fact that I was, I came on as an OG citizen, and it just feels right to, once I ideated Naffles from within NT, I just wanted the NT community to be a part of it. And so, on a day-to-day basis, we have discussions on how we can add value back into NT, what we can do in terms of bytes, how we can have that involved. And, with the AMA next week as well within NT, we want to give Neo Tokyo citizens priority on anything that we have to offer, particularly in the pre-sales and things like that. Even though it's such a small number, we still want to be able to give NT citizens priority.
I think I probably have a bit of a bias on this one, or maybe an unfair advantage. Many of the things that I built for Neo Tokyo already were built through the Byte team, and basically through Byte, although not fully in name. So everything that we do, obviously we're trying to build a full, robust experience, but anything that we can help increase the value of the ecosystem of Neo Tokyo, we're looking to do. But to say that we're building things with the idea in mind of let's enrich Neo Tokyo, I think that's probably too strong of a stance in relation to what we're doing now. But we always, or at least I always, have at the forefront of my mind, is the thing that we're building right now able to help Neo Tokyo in some way? And if it is, then we try to integrate it. So for example, RarityMon obviously has quite a few features that have been injected directly into Neo Tokyo. For example, Elite Citizens, that's all Byte technology.
Very cool. So let's refocus back and triangulate on the future of NFT marketplaces. And definitely open to hearing about it through the lens of what y'all are building. But more interested in kind of scoping out a little bit. We have been on for a while, so I do want to scope out a little bit. Who's going to win this land grab as far as NFT marketplaces go? And in general, not really asking for specific names, but like the folks that are going to be the winners. What will need to be true in order for them to become the winners?
Well, at the end of the day, I think the winner is obviously the one who has the attention of the users. So the question is, what do you need to do to get the attention of the users? Right now it's OpenSea, obviously, because they have all of the volume. And one of the issues that any new marketplace has to deal with is, okay, how do I generate volume so that people want to come to my platform? Well, if there's no one already on your platform, it's hard to generate that volume. So it's a bit of a chicken and the egg issue, as someone said earlier. I don't remember who said that. But I think the key here is whoever can create an experience beyond just the value of the NFT, it's just the trading value of the NFT itself. So if you can create other needs for people to be around that marketplace beyond just the value, what's going to happen is in the down periods, such as right now, you're going to eventually take over. So if there's a reason for people to use a marketplace beyond just the buying and trading, the times when there's not much buying and trading, that's when you make up the ground.
I think the winners, I guess I see OpenSea as the AOL or the MySpace or the the Yahoo of NFTs. They're one of the biggest for now. But the opportunities for Byte and SwapStreet and other platforms to start stealing their market share is ripe. I think there's because they've come in later. They've seen the problems, and they're more flexible to engage with communities. You can see where people are clearly unhappy with what OpenSea are doing, and that's a massive opportunity for these platforms to come in and address those issues and build communities that eventually will either take over or be bought out by the larger platforms.
I do agree with you there. Usually, like earlier in the market is like if you're the first to deliver and the first to be there, then you'll maintain the volume. But now going over to Thrasher's point of during the bear, if you can provide those specific services and solve and resolve those issues that other competitors are having, then you will start raking in and clawing back that volume that you either didn't have previously or had failed to achieve before, and then become the new market leader. But yeah, I think OpenSea will be around because for a little bit longer because they do have an API that a lot of services, micro or mini services use. But I think after people get wise and start, utilizing other services, either it could be alchemy or whatever, when dependence starts becoming less on OpenSea, we'll start to see them decline.
So I'm always interested, especially between entrepreneurs and builders like you guys. What other questions do you have for each other as far as, I don't even want to put any additional constraints on that question.
I think the biggest thing as an entrepreneur who's been in the tech space a fair amount, but has also been more in the internet marketing space, I've also done a little bit of real estate, is rather than coming in with a question of here's my problem, which I think is a little bit presumptuous. If you actually knew what your problem was, you would know how to solve it. Normally, it's get my entire ecosystem in front of another like-minded person who's trying to solve a similar problem and see if they see things through a different perspective, rather than trying to throw my perspective onto them with a bunch of biases and say, hey, here's my issue. Say, here's my system. And they say, oh, this is what your issue is. And a lot of the times when it gets reframed that way and someone can point something out with a different perspective, you can very quickly solve a problem. I know that was a little too abstract and you're probably looking for a more specific question, but that's generally how I try to solve problems when using outside sources of perspective.
Yeah, I'll second that as well, actually, Thrasher, because if you know what the problem is, then as an entrepreneur, you're basically actively looking for solutions on how to fix it. You speak to people and until you've got that problem solved. But often the issue is that you just don't know what you don't know, right? And so getting speaking to other founders who are working in the same space, that they'll just bring up things that you've just not even thought about. That they think, how have you missed this problem? And you're like, I didn't even know it was a problem. So I think that's kind of so in a way, one of the key things for me at the moment is just to try to speak to as many people as possible who are working in the space.
Yeah, I think going back to that, just to build on that a little bit more, one of the bigger issues is that oftentimes we get stuck in the weeds as we're, just going through trying to get work done. And we see all of these symptoms popping up and we're trying to solve these symptoms and they just keep popping up all over the place. So when you can present your entire system to someone else, they say, hey, you're just trying to solve these symptoms. If you deal with the actual problem, which we don't even see at the time, then all of those symptoms go away. And oftentimes the fix for that is fairly quick. It's just so embedded in things that we had done a long time ago as we were scaling up or scaling out or trying to solve another problem that we weren't really looking for it at the time.
Well, you sound like a healer. I'm a therapist as well, you know, and I'm all into holistic healing. And that's like, you know, you sound like you're talking about Western medicine, focusing too much on the little symptoms. I really like that metaphor there for this subject, especially. I'm curious, so just like, you know, first of all, I want to say I think we should, you know, try and give, as Ben mentioned, you know, a few people some opportunities to ask a couple questions here in a few minutes. I see one person's already requested. I'm just wondering, like, how you guys think the future of the NFT market is going to look, you know, in certain aspects. Like, you know, I know people who project leaders often rely on royalties, right? But then as these like peer-to-peer markets start to advance, like SudoSwap, like you know, SwapStreet, and Naffles is also in that category. You know, is that something you think is going to continue to be a major aspect in the NFT realm, or are project leaders going to have to start looking at other ways to maintain their profits and benefits off of their projects?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. So I think there's a few major things there. One, I think royalties at some level are going to always exist. I don't know if they'll exist for every single project. One of the things that's going to happen is many of these newer projects are going to have to start injecting royalties directly into the smart contract, and there's a few ways you can do that. There's some EIPs for just a royalty percentage where specific marketplaces can't do swaps unless a royalty is paid out. There's ways around that. One of the other options is basically creating a token related to the NFT, so an ERC20 or whatever chain you're on, and then every time that a transfer happens, you take some ERC20 and you move it into a treasury or somewhere, and then there's a liquidity pool for that ERC20. So you can have an inherent royalty related to that. Now, that's all speculative. Who knows if that's the solution for it? With that being said, almost certainly most projects will have to find other revenue streams outside of the actual royalties themselves, which is one of the features of kind of what we're doing over at Byte, because you can build rich ecosystems where people have to own your NFT or your either NFT or specific traded NFT to see certain pieces of content, which you can then set up systems where in order to maintain that NFT, they either have to use a subscription system and the NFT expires, things of that nature. Because there's this assumption that NFTs exist forever, they don't necessarily have to.
Man, you got some good ideas for all these issues, huh? Either of you other guys, Ben or Naffler, have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, look, I think from a royalties perspective, you know, whether they hang around or for how long they hang around, you know, it's a revenue stream at the moment for project owners. But, you know, like any revenue stream, you kind of have to adapt with the market, right? I mean, if the market starts moving away from paying out royalties, then, you know, project owners have to adapt. Otherwise, you know, they're basically just going to die out with projects. So, and, you know, some of the options that Thrasher threw out, you know, that could work. That there could be new things as new technology comes out as well, right? So so whether royalties stay in the same form or not, I think at the end of the day, the communities, the NFT communities who's using it is going to drive that direction.
Yeah, I have to agree. I personally think that with all these marketplaces coming out for people to avoid fees, personally, we're actually going to add, and we're prioritizing, you know, the ability to tip, kind of like Atomic Zero.io does. I think it's Atomic Zero, and just like Thrasher said, I am pretty sure that NFT contracts and creators are going to start just putting it into the contract to be able to get those royalties back, because obviously free mint collections would rely on the royalties to be able to get money. However, yeah, that might be a thing of the past now as people are moving forward trying to avoid fees that would cut into their profits.
All right. One other area that's been in the news a bit this last week concerns stolen NFTs and how to deal with that. I know OpenSea was kind of under fire for not having a clear policy of how to address when people are selling stolen NFTs. Do any of you have any thoughts or ideas of how that could evolve?
Oh, okay. I'll go for it. Yeah. So as far as the policing of stolen NFTs, obviously that system is going to have to evolve. There's going to need to be quite a few more restrictions in place. I think some of the common sense stuff is simply if you can verify that an NFT has been stolen, you don't allow it to be listed on your marketplace. One of the issues that gets a little bit sticky right now is verifying that an NFT has been stolen. There are some cases where someone takes part in a trade that they regret, and then they say the NFT is stolen, so that it gets pulled down and the person can't trade it, and they're doing it out of spite. That's unfortunate as well. Obviously, you don't want to be pulling legitimate auctions. So there are quite a few questions on that side as far as how it should be dealt with, what's going too far. I think in some cases, in most cases, OpenSea doesn't go far enough, but in some cases they go too far. And that's one of the real issues, I think, with OpenSea is that their policies are not consistent. It's really hard to understand why was this one pulled and this one wasn't. There are NFTs that don't show in my wallet because they've blacklisted them for no reason whatsoever that are within a collection where the other NFTs are not blacklisted. So I think the first step is really just being consistent in whatever your policy is.
All right, well, that makes sense. Naffler, you got any thoughts on how Naffles would have any ways of dealing with it, or?
Yeah, sure. I guess for platforms who do swaps and direct buys and sells, that transaction is pretty much instantaneous once it's been agreed, right? So you can't get your money back. But our platform works a little bit different in that it's as I said before, it's a one-to-many relationship, and it's not an instantaneous transaction. So everything is non-custodial, but once you've listed your NFT for sale, you're waiting on the sale of tickets, right? So that's there's quite a period of time that you're waiting for people to buy those tickets. So we've got that time to review while the raffle is going, and that gives us a lot more time than other platforms to assess the legitimacy of stolen NFTs and lock the transactions and prevent things from happening. Plus, we can refund all ticket sales as well. So, the challenge for us in terms of verification of stolen NFTs is the same as every other platform. But I think what we can do about it, I think we've got a little bit more room to wiggle than everyone else.
From a SwapStreet perspective, I think it's kind of a touchy subject because say we do know of a stolen, sorry, one moment. So say we actually do understand that there is a stolen NFT and we actually alter our offline order book to, cancel or do whatever to that specific transaction or someone trying to sell it. Obviously, we want to stop the theft from happening, but we also don't want to undermine the trust in our offline order book that allows for these trustless transactions to happen. In any case, there would be a sacrifice of something if there was a solution. And, as Dasher and Naffler, said, there isn't a true there isn't a silver bullet for this issue, as all transactions are final. This isn't like this isn't like the traditional banking system, unfortunately, where you can call up a service provider, get them to reverse a transaction, and then do all the paperwork on their end. This is definitely something that requires more thought or just more functionality within a network.
Well, to build even on that point, even in the traditional banking system, they don't always get it right. In fact, I would say often they get it wrong. One of the things to keep in mind is in the case of theft, the system has already been damaged because someone is acting maliciously. So there's nothing that you can ever do to set the system back to where it was. So best case scenario is reducing the damage as much as possible. So even in a case where, let's say, you're able to refund the NFT to the original user, there's still going to be gas costs, there's still going to be the inconvenience to the user, there's still going to be a negative outcome. They're going to be happier than they would be if nothing happened, but no matter what, you're never going to have a perfect solution. It's not possible. Now, the question is, how close can we get to a perfect solution?
Seems just close enough to make one of the parties happy.
Right. Yeah, it's always something that you have to compromise on one side or the other, I guess. Yeah, once again, anybody wants to ask a question, you just you request to be a speaker, and we'll pull you up here. I had one other thought here, just looking at this when we're talking about the future. We're looking, putting ourselves 5-10 years in. Right now there's such a small market in terms of like people that have wallets and are trading and owning NFTs. And so it's like these niche marketplaces that we're discussing. Do you guys see a future where it's not like just these niche markets that are selling NFTs, but where NFTs are just kind of integrated all throughout society? Like, what Amazon, or going to, movies, or, I know there's like real estate integration ideas. There's like sports team integration where it's just kind of like everywhere, and every other marketplace has that option. Do you see a future like that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just have to say I do got to bounce. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you guys today, and it's been an honor to be on this Spaces. You guys have a great night, and I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks for coming along, man.
Thanks, pal.
Cheers, man.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was just going to say, I do foresee that happening. The question is to what level, right? So it's possible that a few industries don't integrate this entirely, but as we're all very aware, an NFT is simply a trustless receipt system, right? So any type of transaction where there's some form of a receipt necessary in some form, I think there's a good chance that it moves into the NFT space. And that's kind of why we're trying to build a robust experience, and not just the ability to trade NFTs back and forth, but create all of the necessary tools around that, and the ability to have a multi-chain identity that exists no matter where you're trading, which chain you're trading your NFTs on. So in the future, if you are going to trade, let's say you're going to trade an NFT, which is actually the title for a house, or you're going to trade the title for a car, or you're going to go buy some tickets to Ultra Music Festival, you have an identity that's related to that, which hopefully in our eyes will be the Byte social profile. Now, it doesn't have to be, but that's kind of the direction that we see things going.
All right. Okay. Jay, you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Thresh is saying, but I think as NFTs become more prevalent, you'll start seeing that attached to just general digital products, and anywhere that digital products are being sold at the moment, I think eventually, they'll probably start to infiltrate those markets. Whether that's 5 years, 10 years, or longer, who knows? I guess it depends on which markets are more open to adopting NFTs. But once they've adopted it and they see the value, then you don't see them moving backwards.
Yeah. What do you say there, Ben? You got any more thoughts here to bring forward? I'm not seeing any hands raised to come up and ask, but people don't have to be shy if you got a thought on the subject here that you'd like to share or a question. But for now, Ben, what are you thinking?
For sure. I was going to say, folks that want to ask a question, speak now, forever hold your peace. If not, let's start to wrap up. Would really just love, while we wait for the questions to come in, would love to just get a sense of what y'all's, and I know we've been talking about it, we've been kind of talking around it, a little bit touched on it, but just if you could summarize for us, what is your vision of the future of NFTs, NFT marketplaces? Like, paint a picture for us of the most vivid image that you have in your mind, something that we can grasp, a really strong takeaway that we can come away from this whole thing with.
Well, I think from a timeline perspective, what we're going to see is a few cases that we already see coming. So right now we have PFPs, we have general utility projects that are using NFTs. There's some level of NFT gaming, but no real AAA studios have fully jumped in. A few have said they're going to. I think the next wave, and I'm assuming most of us agree, it's probably going to be NFT gaming. It's the most obvious reason for anyone to use an NFT right now that makes sense and can easily be integrated into the technology that already exists. All of the physical things that most people mention, whether it's real estate, whether it's physical products, that will come, but there are many more hurdles to deal with than something that's already virtual, already basically can directly integrate into a blockchain right now if it wants to. So first and foremost, I see gaming moving in that direction. There will be definitely some continued friction, just the same way there was with microtransactions, right? Gamers at first hated microtransactions. Many of them still hate microtransactions, but now they at least accept them and they understand the model for the business model for the gaming companies. So I think that falls in line, and then we start seeing many of these physical products start falling in line, as well as events. Those are the two obvious ones immediately after that. And then we start seeing the real estate, the big purchase items start falling in line. So eventually, most things will be purchasable through an NFT system. I think probably what happens, because there's going to be so many transactions, you probably won't have it all on one chain. You'll probably have chains related to specific types of NFT transactions, and then there will be some form of bridging transitional system where you can move between chains based on what your entity is. Now, I'm hoping that Byte is going to be that entity, but you know, we'll see where that goes.
I guess for me, my vision, if we're looking 10, 15, 20 years ahead, where we are now with Web 2, where you've got your eBays, your Amazons, and then you've got hundreds of thousands of smaller players in their smaller localities. I think eventually you're going to see that merging of Web 2 and Web 3 marketplaces and retailers, where anyone who sells a digital property or even real life properties, you'll be able to find it all in those same type of online properties where you can be able to go to your Amazons and your eBays, and they'll probably buy out some of these larger NFT platforms, or these NFT platforms will start merging into Web 2 type things. I think that's kind of where I think we're going to go. You're not going to have that separation between NFTs and other things.
Yeah, this all sounds quite like a logical progression. I like how you guys laid that out. I did just bring up BNFT. You want to share a question or a comment here?
Hey guys, yeah, it's BNFT. So super excited to be in Neo Tokyo and the Citadel now. Just got the S1 Elite this last weekend, so been hustling all year to make it to the Citadel. So super excited.
Welcome.
Congrats.
We're happy to have you.
Thanks, appreciate it. My question was kind of like even long-term on the market, how do you think, VR is a thing now, but realistically, my thoughts are AR is going to be kind of the future, right? Like kind of like Free Guy or something like that, right? Ready Player One, right? Stuff like that. So, and there's already people doing that, actually implementing that. Like I know Raytheon implements that in training and stuff as well. So, how do you see NFT technology integrating with AR specifically?
Well, there's a couple different ways. One is a bit of a subscription model. So if you have specific NFTs, it gives you access to specific AR utilities, similar to Google Glasses, right? So your Google Glasses allow you to look at things. I don't even know if anyone uses them anymore. I know they got canceled a while ago. But you can look at things. You can get information feedback from it. You can create augmented, altered realities. Obviously, that's the point, where basically you can play a game in reality. For example, Pokemon Go, right? That's basically an AR. I think what happens, you mentioned that, you think we'll move a little bit more in the direction of AR than VR. I think what probably happens is that we get some form of merging, meshing, where the two are probably not distinguishable. So they'll be indistinguishable from each other to the average person. Now, maybe if you're extremely technical and you're one of the people that helped build this, or you're a software engineer, you'll really understand the differences. But I think at some point the two kind of merge together as they've been moving towards that singularity. As we can see right now, that's kind of the trajectory. And then obviously things that exist within VR or things that exist in that augmented reality can be NFTs that can be owned by an entity or a group of entities.
Similar to just owning items in a game is what you're saying, kind of, right? Skins and whatever.
Yes, similar to that. Sometimes they can have tertiary benefits beyond just the ownership of the item itself. Sometimes it's just the item itself. So yeah, basically anything tangible that you can think of in reality, there's probably going to be some form of parallel in AR, VR, if there isn't already. And chances are it will be ownable kind of through an NFT system.
All right, on that, you other? Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, somewhat on that note, obviously the types of NFTs are also going to evolve over time. I mean, just, seeing some of the more commonly known ones around our circles are the Alturas or the Remarks or whatever, whatever different types there are. How does that factor into how you guys are thinking about the future of NFTs and specifically the marketplaces? Does it really matter for you guys, or are there some fun, interesting things that are going to arise as those different pieces of technology get built out?
I think from a marketplace perspective, we just need to keep our finger on the pulse and see what's evolving out of the space in terms of technology, what we need to incorporate into our platforms, what's worth just kind of monitoring and kind of, sit, wait and see, whether that's going to be hanging around for the long term or not, and just adapt. So, we wouldn't, jump the gun and, the first thing that comes out, we'd try to integrate it, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But for us, it's just making sure that we can be as inclusive as possible for new technology.
Yeah, I don't think it's too different for us either. The key really is as different types of NFTs show up, possibly with different features and functionalities, we want to make sure, not even so much on the actual marketplace itself side, but on the experience side, that we're building any tools necessary to help those creators and those communities to leverage those features and functionalities as much as possible. So the marketplace is there so people have the ability to freely trade however they see fit. But on the other side, we want to make sure that we are enhancing those NFTs as much as possible so people see a reason to want to trade those NFTs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, And again, if anybody else has a question, please, raise your hand or however you do it within Twitter, and we'll get you up here. In the meantime, though, you guys are building. Obviously, that takes a ridiculous amount of time and effort and attention to do it right. But you're also in the crypto markets, so I'm sure you're not immune to everything that goes on. How do you guys deal with that duality of being builders, but also you're in crypto? So, there's a million different things happening. There's a million different pieces and sections, a million different projects going on at the same time. There's bulls and bears and booms and busts. Like, how do you guys balance like being in crypto, but also being a builder at the same time?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of facets to that. First off, I'm lucky enough that I used to do a fair amount of day trading. I was reasonably successful at it. So one of the things that I'm reasonably good at is, twofold, I guess. One is kind of understanding market sentiment and where things are going. And the other is the ability to shut out noise. And there is a lot of noise in this space. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do all of the things that I do, because every day there's 10 new things that pop up that could grab my attention. So the ability to kind of just shut things out and put my head down to a certain level, and then understand that some of my time needs to be spent actually understanding the current market sentiment and the current things that are moving into the market. Because, as a leader of the team, as CEO, it's my job to be the visionary. It's my job to understand where things are going and where we need to go. So the long and short of it is it's not easy. But in my specific case, I happen to bring a few skill sets to the table before all of this started that have really helped me personally.
How about you, Jay?
I kind of agree with, I do agree with Thrasher, but I find that I do get caught up in a lot of stuff, and you go down a lot of rabbit holes. I'm probably less, not as good at shutting things out as Thrasher may be, and I do find myself sort of just diving into stuff, and before I know it, like days have gone by. But it is something that I'm focusing on to improve, and I think that's one of the key things, right? Is just knowing where you're not so good at, and making that realization, and then just trying to improve on it. So that is something that I'm working on, because with the startups, you got to keep things moving forward. But then also, I think one of the key things for me recently is just about building good teams around you when you're working on these projects, and it's not trying to do everything yourself and trying to solve everything yourself, and trying to find out everything by yourself. It's using that team around you, building those relationships, and leveraging the people around you as much as possible.
I agree,
Yeah.
and to build on that just a little bit, one of the main things that I try to do is not be an expert at everything. So I know that I'm deficient in multiple areas. My goal there is to make sure that I'm competent enough to understand why and where I'm deficient, but to go no further beyond that, and then try to build a team around me of experts in those specific areas. Because I've seen quite a few builders try to increase their competency in every single area. And from what I've seen, maybe someone can make it work, but I've never seen anyone make that work. It's always been make sure that you know just enough to know that you know nothing, and then go find people who can do those things for you.
Good stuff. Yeah, this
Right
is like,
Can I?
who's that?
Oh, it's me.
B?
Yeah. Do you mind if I add to that as the newbie?
Sure.
So I've got a couple IRL businesses, and I really jumped into this space to, with the thesis of Neo Tokyo, really about, building the future. So that's what I want to do. So I think for me, we just launched our first project really just as a test. It was just like to learn. I'm brand new. I'm not a coder. Learn how to deploy smart contracts successfully, figure out how to do the mint button and stuff like that. And so over about 6 months, I really didn't trade much at all because I just didn't have the capacity. So I think it's like being okay with missing upside in other areas to focus on why you started in the first place. So, which for me was, is building, which is why I've been trying to get into the Citadel for a while. So that's why I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, this is pretty much my first full cycle, and just seeing how different everything is, because everybody always talks about, the bear market is really for the builders. This is when you build, and there's definitely a lot less distractions, and it is easier to focus on building. The psychology of it all is so different, though, because in that bull market, everybody's so active. Like in the Citadel in Neo Tokyo, we had this voice chat just popping 24/7. Everybody's grinding this Discord and getting into this thing and that one, and now it's like it's pretty quiet. And there's something there to just the psychology of like you don't have that imminent reward. Like you're not going to make money today or tomorrow. You're not going to score all these big wins, but really, like they say, that's where the bear market is, where the real riches are made, and that's where there are less distractions. And I would like to see us as a community and any other digital communities out there that are participating or listening to really, try and harness our communities and our networks when times are slow to do everything like what you guys are describing, to work with each other, build upon our strengths, and get ahead so that once the market is really hopping, we are able to fully harness all of that energy and liquidity that's pumping through it. So these events that we're hosting here are one example of trying to get that to keep going. Everything we're doing with the news and all the activities within Neo Tokyo are definitely geared towards helping that. So we thank everybody for participating. I'm going to start to wrap things up here because we did promise it was going to be about an hour and a half. I would like to just give the two special guests that are still with us an opportunity to give one final plug to their projects in terms of like, if we wanted to learn more, or get more involved in either Byte or Naffles, what would be the best way to do so? Maybe start with Jay Naffler.
No worries. I guess for now we've just got the Twitter, which is at Naffles Official. Just follow us there. We're shortly going to be opening access to the pre-sale and start releasing a lot more information for the upcoming beta. So yeah, lots of exciting things coming up.
Right on. So following the Discord, you did mention there's an AMA in Neo Tokyo on Tuesday,
Yes.
the 23rd, and there will be a release of how people can get involved in that pre-sale. As far as I understand, it's almost kind of like an application process for people, kind of because it's going to be a pretty special opportunity to get in that first alpha phase of the whole Naffles platform. So, and then as that's going, there'll be some opening of the Discord as well, and that's going to be scaled just throughout, just like everything else, right? So yeah, give Naffles a follow, and if you're in the Citadel, definitely join up for that AMA on Tuesday. What about you, my man, Thrasher? Great to have you here. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you for having me. Well, one, you can follow me. There are going to be quite a few updates coming up on the Byte side here in the next few weeks. You can also follow the Byte Twitter, which is BYT_INC. The social profiles are live right now, so if you have wanted to show off all of your NFTs across all of your chains, you can do that right at this moment. It's just byt.io. You can create an account. And then the other major thing is we're going to need a lot of user feedback as we start to build out this social system. As most people know, if the social system does take off, being one of the first movers in that space can be very, very beneficial for many different reasons. So feel free to drop on by and give us feedback through my Twitter account, the Byte Twitter account, and we're going to be pretty heavily utilizing our Discord here over the next few weeks as well. So you can find that link on the Byte Twitter.
Right on. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Ben, you got any sign-off words for us before I shut it down?
Just remember, everybody, the greatest victory is to conquer self. That is all. Thanks for being here.
Right
Just
on.
want to say
Thanks,
thanks to
everybody.
ZeHI and
Go ahead.
Ben for. I just wanted to say thanks to you guys for organising the event.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having us, and thanks everyone that came to listen.
Thanks all.
Yes, so we will probably be having another one. I'm starting to line one up possibly for next week. The next one's going to be focusing on, how to make a real successful crypto game, and we'll be looking at some of the most promising games coming out of the Citadel. There's the Scrapyard, NF Arcade, Non-Fungible Arcade, and the Citadel game. We're trying to get the representatives from the three of them to jump on, so that'll likely be within the next couple weeks, if not a week from today. And stay tuned. Follow us on Neo Tokyo News. We just passed 5,000 followers there. We're not quite at the 1 million of the Bored Apes, but, we're on our way, and we'll be celebrating each 1,000. And glad to have you with us, doing our best to keep the citizens interlinked. And yes, so we'll see you again soon in the Citadel or from the Citadel. Take care, y'all. Aloha.